Today, I am joined by Matthew Lineker, my colleague, who's going to be checking out the chat and keeping the discussion going and making sure that I stop and answer any questions that you might have. I am Meredith Henson, Senior Solutions Consultant at Totara Learn. And this session today on hidden gems, or what I consider hidden gems for site administrators in Totara Learn, will be recorded and will be available on the community to watch and share to your heart's content, usually in the next day or two. Matt, anything to add?
No, just to say, yeah, welcome to everyone. And as we go, please feel free to ask any questions in the chat. We'll pause momentarily after each section, and then we'll read them out, and Meredith will answer any questions that you have. If we can't answer them today, we can also come back to the community and post some questions in there. But feel free to ask anything you like as we go.
Yeah, keep him on his toes, guys. Alrighty, so for anyone who attended my session last week on hidden gems for course creators, this slide will be very familiar. My point really that I want to make is that Totara Learn is a big system. It's very powerful, it's highly configurable, and there's always a lot of changes to the system at any when you run an update, whether it's a minor or a major update. There's always something new to learn, there's always something new to try. And it is really worth experimenting and trying new things out, as long as it's in a nice safe environment like a staging site, or if you'd like to use the Totara Learn demo site, you're very welcome. There's users in there, there's content in there, there's data in there, so you can take advantage of that and play around with some of the functionality that might not be quite so easy to either generate from scratch, or you might not be available to you because you only have a production site. Really the key is that there is no big red self-destruct button in Totara. You can lose content, but usually everything is backed up or saved and you get a confirm option. Really it is worth having a play just to learn some of these new things. So the 8 things that I have pulled out of the site administration area that I want to go through today, and this is just 8, there's plenty, but these were the 8 that first came to mind, are on screen here. I'm again displaying these in advance in case you want to skim through them and go, yes, I know all about these things. I can just take out one of my headphones and keep working while I listen. You're very welcome to. So today's session is going to be mostly me doing live demo on my local site. So bear with me as I swap over screens. Okay, Matt, can you confirm you're seeing my local site now?
I see it clearly.
Clearly, excellent. Alrighty, to get started. So this is just my local a version 12 site running on my laptop. There is no customization, there's no custom plugins, there's no theme attached. This is my demo site for these types of webinars and for me to learn and experiment myself. I learn things all the time and trying to come up with solutions for our customers and our partners. So the reason I'm on this login screen isn't because I have forgotten to log in or I've timed out. I want to talk about this particular page here and what you can do with it. So on this page, at the moment on my site, I've set the site to force people to log in. So you can't hit that home page without entering in your authentication details. And that might be a good model for some organizations. It certainly is on my local site. But some other people might want you to jump straight to your home page. But if you are using this login screen, excuse me, then you can customize a little bit how this page looks. What you can do is actually add instructions that sit here on the right-hand side of the screen on how to either log in or create a new account or request a new account, depending on the various authentication methods that you might have. So now I'm going to log in as an admin and show you where you can update those instructions. So I'm always going to be logged in as an admin. I'm going to lurk here around the site administration menu here for a while today. So I want to go to administration and then plugins. And then under authentication, I want to go to manage authentication. Now, and this is why I call it a hidden gem, because there's a few clicks to get to it. As I scroll down the page, about halfway down, there's a section here called instructions. And this is where you can enter some content to say this is how you log in, very nervous about my typing. This is how you create an account. And you can customize those instructions, or you can allow people to self-register on the site and leave this blank and it will have the default text. It's entirely up to you. Now you'll note that there is an HTML editor here, and so you can add in links and you can add in media. However, if you go into add in media, rather than a browse and add interface, what you see here is a prompt for a link. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, but also kind of exciting and kind of ties in two tips from me in one. So let's say that we want to embed an image here. We need to add an image that is stored at the site level rather than within a course level or externally, so that it will display to people who are not yet logged in. So to do that, I need to create an image somewhere. I'm just going to save changes here. And for me, there's a couple of ways of doing it, but for me, the easiest way is to jump back to the home page and turn editing on. And there's a block called the main menu block. And what this main menu block allows you to do is add content like you would a topic section within a course. Here it is at the bottom here. And you can see you can add an activity or resource. And I've added this content here previously, not only so it speeds up this demonstration, but also to show you that you can have the main menu block and then you can delete it, not hide it. You can delete it and add it back again and your content is still in there. Now you can upload an image in a couple of ways. I've chosen to add it as a label, but you could also add it as a file. Either way, when you're viewing that image, you can just right click or whatever operating system you need to use, or keystrokes need to copy the image location. And if I was to open a new browser and paste that in, you can see that there is a unique URL here, which is the link of where that particular image is stored within my system. So you're going to look at something a little bit like that when you do this yourself. Now, I could just as easily add this image or this file in the topic section in the central area here, but I can't make that then invisible for other users. It might be fine to use an image in both places, but if you want to keep that image separate and just use within your login instructions, this is for me probably the easiest approach. Now I don't want, I mean, I do want to see a honey badger at all times on my front page, but let's assume that not everyone agrees with me. I can then delete that main menu block. Just drops down to the list of possible blocks I can use, and I can head back over to my authentication options. Here. And if I want that image in there, now I can add that image in and paste in that link. Oh yeah, that's about right. And I can save that image. Now if I go back and save these changes and log out, you should see those instructions, hooray, here on this login screen. So you can be a bit creative. You could embed other types of media. You could have videos. I think you could probably have GIFs. Give it a go. Let me know how you get on. And certainly instructions and links using this technique here. Are there any questions?
No questions currently, but if anyone has any questions on that, feel free to add them into their chat box now.
Excellent. Questions are encouraged so that I can drink my coffee. Right. Next option. Number 2 is displaying login failures. So this is particularly valuable when you have installed a new site, or perhaps upgraded a site, or added a bunch of new users, or even if you have a regular, quite high turnover of users. This piece of functionality is really helpful. What it does is allow you to receive notifications, or specific people to receive notifications when someone has failed to log in. Now, you've got some options here, so let's go into that page. So here under the site administration menu, I want to go to security. And then in the sub menu, I want to go to notifications. And here are the options here. So I can display the login display information to use about previous failed logins. This shows users that they've previously failed to log in, and you can also get an alert on the front page when you log in that people have been struggling, but you can't get specifics on who. What's more helpful is getting the email, and so you can have this as a regular event and email to excuse me, one or many administrators, or everyone who's got a particular capability within the site. So it might be a site manager, or maybe it's technical support who have a unique role, for example. Now it says admin user, that's just the name of my account here. It could just as easily say Meredith, but admin user is me as the administrator right now. Now, 10 is the default. That's a really high number. That suggests that an individual has failed to log in 10 times. Imagine how frustrated they would be after 10 times. For me, I feel like about 3 is right. You know, once is a whoopsie, 2 is bad typing, 3 is I've forgotten my password, or I'm doing this wrong. That's just my personal recommendation is around 3. So what you can do is receive an email notification saying X user has failed to log in after these 3 attempts, and then you can proactively intervene. You can contact them and saying, hey, you're having a problem, can I reset your password? In my experience, if you catch those people that have failed to log in or struggled to get into the site early, you're more likely to be able to save that relationship that they might have with the learning management system and make them happier about using particularly new technology, which can be difficult or scary or just annoying for some people depending on the time that they have. Any questions?
So a couple of questions coming in. So for the login page, is it possible to customize the login page according to users? So to use an audience, for example?
Not at this stage, no. It is an interesting idea. I know there are some other systems that have some light theming at that page, but you can apply, you can work with a partner and they can actually apply, not through the UI, but through some development, multiple themes. And then if there's some magic that can be done, so people hit different login screens, and then are redirected to the main site, but not via configuration.
Okay, and then is the images, for example, if you put them on the login page, is that accessible to everyone without logging in?
Yeah. So if I log out, I'm no longer authenticated in any way, and here I can see it. That image is kind of security through obscurity, though. That URL is really hard to guess. I mean, I wouldn't put anything particularly sensitive on that front page because anyone can hit that front page, but otherwise that image can also be used anywhere else across the site using that URL.
Okay, thanks, Meredith.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, number 3, I want to switch gears away from login failures to audiences. Now, dynamic audiences and audiences functionality is hugely important across the system in terms of automation and really making your life a lot simpler as a site administrator. And you know, making things faster and simpler is one of my favorite things. So is audiences. So I want to talk about how you can create custom user profile fields to generate self-select audiences. So audiences that people opt into. So this is my list of audiences here. If I go to users and then in the submenu here, user profile fields, I can create a range of different profile fields which optionally an individual can enter or select into using like the checkbox, for example. And this might be something like whether they want to opt into the management program. So then you can use your dynamic audience to display management related content in the catalog, or it could be more social. So someone that wants to join a particular social group and interact with individuals, maybe within a dedicated course, or have certain things available to them. You can do this through the self-select. So here are a number of custom profile fields that I've added. Some of them, well, I think pretty much all of them are tick boxes, but there are a range of other options in terms of creating custom profile fields. What this looks like If I go into edit profile, here are those two sections at the bottom of my profile here, and there's one tick box, and then self-select audience. And you can choose whether an individual can change this or add this themselves, or it might be something that you manually add, but we're talking about self-select audiences. So things like the tick box and allowing a user to edit it themselves is ideal here. So we've added the field and I've checked an item, and then if I go back to audiences over here, I've created a dynamic audience here. If I go into it and look at the different rule sets, you can see that along this long list of rules that are available here, and in fact we've got a number coming, new ones coming in version 13, is a section on custom user fields. Now, not all of the ones that I'd created are available, but for example, text, a large amount of text isn't an option, but something which has a kind of a binary choice is on or off, or a one yes or no type option is available, or a multiple select, excuse me. So here is the custom user profile I was talking about, and we can say whether it's checked or not. And if it is, then users can be automatically added to this particular audience. And then all the other functionality that applies to dynamic audiences, such as enrolled learning and visible learning, can be applied. Now, of course, dynamic audiences also not just related to learning, can also then change the navigation for an individual and apply different access to different dashboards for individuals that have self-selected into these audiences. So it's very powerful and has options over and above courses and learning and social. There's probably a lot of other suggestions and everything in between to leverage this functionality. Any questions on that?
It's a question from Daniel Bond from the NHS.
Hello, Daniel.
Asking, can you have a rule for has ever completed X course, for example, for courses where completions are achieved manually or by a certification?
Certainly, but manually. There is a course completion option. So it doesn't matter how it was completed as long as it's marked as complete. Certification makes it a little interesting because if it's part of the recertification path, once their recertification window opens, then they're no longer considered complete. So I would be very careful basing it on...
Daniel's saying keyword here is archived. I didn't see archived.
Okay, well, the completion is archived, but it's no longer considered complete at the time. So you would probably want to put something, if the course is only completed and as a recertification course, I don't recommend it for this type of role.
Okay. Next question. Is there an enhancement available to toggle between dynamic or set type audiences without recreating?
No, that's an interesting idea though, because sometimes you do create them as a set and then you think, no. What you can do though, is you can create an audience based on another audience. So rather than recreating it, you could just create a new dynamic audience and base it on people who are part of a set audience.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Right, number 4, audience controlled featured links tiles. Now, still on audiences, this is something that actually a member of the community team alerted to me to a couple of years back. I hadn't experimented, so I'm assuming there'll be other people, well, I'm hoping other people missed it. Here on the home page here, if I was to turn editing on, you'll see I've got a featured links block along the top here, and one of these items is hidden. If I click on the actions, there is a visibility option. Note, this is only for featured links that have been added to the front page here. That's because audience controls a dashboard view already, so it would be audiences on audiences, which starts getting very complicated. So it applies to the front page featured links only. If I click on visibility, here you've got the option to hide everything, to show everything, or to only have visibility based on certain rules. And one of these rules could be one or many audiences. There are also on this page some preset options around whether the individual is authenticated or not and how they're logged in. But in this case, I'm more interested in audiences. So you can apply visibility of this featured link to a specific audience, which means that they get different key navigation points here on the front page, as opposed to just within their dashboard. So you can have a whole, 3 or 4 columns or rows full of featured links here, and only some of them are visible to some users. It's entirely up to you. Alrighty, that was a quick one. Moving on, course request functionality. So this functionality allows you to, you need to switch it on because it's off by default. And what it allows you to do is for users to request the creation of new courses. So an individual goes, hey, site administrator, I'd like a new course. This is why. And then the site administrator can approve or reject that request. And that might be so that they can do something work-related, like create a project group or a community of practice, or it could be more social-based, depending on the model and how you're running your learning management system. So to turn this on, we go to courses and categories, and then in the sub-menu here, we go to course request, and you enable it just by ticking this item here. Once you've ticked this, you've got some options. So if a new course request is granted, if a new course request is granted, then you can say which category those courses go automatically to. So in this case, I've just got it going to the miscellaneous category, but you might have one that you can make shift it around, of course, afterwards, but you might have a kind of a default category if you wish for these course requests, or you may allow people to select which category it can go into by enabling this option here. Like the login failures, you can also choose who receives that request notification. And let's go through and show you what that looks like. So I'm going to log in as my Jane learner. Come on, Jane, welcome to the stage. Login as. So Jane can go to the course catalogue and can request a course. And there we've got the course full name, the course short name, a summary. This can again be changed after the fact, but Jane can make some suggestions, and she can provide a reason for wanting to create this course. Noting, of course, that these reasons for wanting this course and the text that it's highlighted at the moment, supporting information to help, blah, 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 that can be edited via the language editing tool if you want to change that language or provide a little bit more information about what may or may not be approved as a request. So when that request has been approved, let me log back in as my admin. It will appear as a notification along the top here. So I've got one that I was playing with like yesterday before. You could see to make sure that I wasn't going to lie to you all about how it worked. Normally that would be highlighted as a new notification, but I've already viewed it. Additionally, I can have an email, and then I can process that request as an administrator, again under courses and categories, and under pending requests, which will be available in this menu after you've switched on course request. That was a seagull, for anyone wondering. I've got something crying in the background. So this here is a list of all the courses that I have been requested. This is the one that I got the notification on. This is Jodie Learner who's requested it, and I can approve or reject that particular request for a course. Noting that when you create that or approve that course, the individual who's requested it will automatically be assigned editing trainer rights. That might be a little bit too much for your liking. I mean, they still need to be able to do something in the course, but maybe you want to provide them a limited amount of access to certain modules or activities or control over the course. And you can create a new custom role or an alternative role, and you can change that via the permissions area as to what they're automatically assigned. You go to permissions, and then under user policies, there's this creators role for new courses. This might have an impact on some other actions you have within the site, depending on your model for creating courses, but probably not. It's probably pretty safe to add a new role and select it from this list here. Any questions on that?
So just one from Mariana saying, is there a way to add additional fields to the course request page?
Not via configuration, no.
Okay. Bob's asking, on the user profile, we need learners to fill those out better so we can leverage the data.
Mm-hmm.
So if we mark those fields as required, like what does the learner see?
Well, actually I could just use my own account here. So the learner, that's a really great question actually. So there's a couple of things going on there. So if you've got the user already, and then you create mandatory fields, next time they log in, or if they want to update their account, or you try to update their account, you'll be prompted to edit or add content in those mandatory fields. So when they next log in, what it looks like is there's just a little red star next to the item to indicate that it's a mandatory item, like you see here, and they can't update that page, or you can't update that page until that information is edited, and there's a little warning at the top of the page to saying more mandatory fields haven't been created. Now you make a great point. You know, having these self-select audiences or just information about the individual helps you create better targeted learning. So you want to encourage people to complete these, and one way you can do that, and I've covered this in a previous webinar, is actually issuing badges based on the completion of these profile fields to encourage people to add as much information as they can or they wish to share. Matt, is there anything else in there?
Yeah, so can the language course request be amended? If someone's wanting to request a community of practice project group, that might not be obvious that they can request it.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, there's actually I need to be logged in as a learner, but that button, you could rename that to course request, and of course you can. That link to the course request, or that button, is a link, so you could add an HTML block on the front page which just says, do you want to create your own community or community of practice, and then you can put that link as an image or a button or something like that and get them to generate it from there. It doesn't have to be directly from the catalogue page, and provide them a little bit of information about what that means and what will be expected of them.
Great, thanks, Meredith.
All right. Okay, we are now on the home stretch, you'll be pleased to know. So jumping to programs. Now there's a field in the programs area that this question came up just a couple of days ago, so I thought I would cover it today. I'm just going into a particular program here that I've created before just to show you what I mean. So there's this course score field and a minimum score, but you can't click it. And someone was asking how to use it, so I thought I would cover it today. So this functionality allows you to have courses have a point or a grade or a score value, much like you do like at university with credits, and for people to create a program based on the completion of a certain number of credits within a set. So what you need, the first step in order to use that is to create a field within the course settings which will capture a numerical value. And the best way to do that, or pretty much the only way of doing that, if you go to courses and then course custom fields here, you'll see there's a long list of custom fields that I've got here, and this is for when I was doing the catalogue documentation and just throwing all of the different custom fields about. But this bottom one here, course score, is the one that I want to speak about. So text input is the best option in terms of the type of field to use, so something that's limited in the space that you can use and will accept numerical characters. And there's nothing special about this course score field that I've created. The only thing I've done is just reduce the display size so that it's not a really long field, so it's clear that it's just a small number, just to kind of visually guide the individual who's adding that value as to what it might accept. What this looks like, and once you've created it, if I jump into a course, then I can go into the edit settings, and here at the bottom here are all of those lots and lots of custom fields, but right at the bottom here's my course score field, so I could give it a credit value of 20, for example. And what I can then do is, I should go back to programs and into my induction training program, which we were just looking at, and I can say that some of the courses that I've listed here, I need to select that course score field. Here it is. And then I can add a value. So maybe I have to get a credit value of 20. So I need to maybe complete 2 courses, or 2 courses that are worth 10 and 2 that are worth 20, whatever. So you can use this to have a long list of courses within a particular program set or course set, and have different values associated with, and really creating that adaptive pathway and people to complete the right number of courses and then collect the right amount of information and knowledge in their learning journey. Any questions on that?
Just an older question from Bob again, just asking on your home page, what feature are you using for the rotating pictures at the very top? You're talking about feature links.
Oh, these ones. That's standard functionality within 12. So if I will turn editing on and go into the tile. It's just the transition is slide or fade, and then I can choose the order of that and the seconds. So just noting it's a gallery type tile. Did that answer your question?
I think so. Yep.
Okay.
From Jill. If you reject the course, does the requester get a notification? And what
They
does it
sure
say?
do. What does it say? You can configure what it says within the language strings, but it's pretty brief. It's either way, it's saying your course request has been approved and link, or rejected, full stop. If you want to see that process, we can deny Jody, and there's a little reason as well.
Meredith, what was the title of the webinar for where you discussed badges for filling out your user profile?
That wasn't the title. I don't know how you'd spell that. I suspect it was on Open Badges, but
okay, I'll go and have a look. That's fine. Thanks.
Actually, you know what? It was under the personalization one, Matt.
Okay, I'll get a link for that. Thank you.
Cool. Let's reject. It doesn't like I haven't not connected to a mail service. I'm getting this little bug. Don't worry, that's just me, my local site not being set up properly. So there we go. That's how you can reject and give them a reason. All right, last 2, and I promise the last one's very, very quick. So this one's around users. So not everyone uses HR import. Maybe not initially, to upload their users and to associate program positions and job assignments and organizations. Some organizations have maybe just imported users, or created them manually, or they're created through an different authentication process. Or maybe you've just not, you've only used it to create positions and organizations and not users. If that's the case, for whatever reason that's happened, when you go into a user that's been created manually or in a different way, you'll notice that their authentication method is manual, and that's absolutely fine. But here, this HR import question mark item here is not checked. And that's because it hasn't been created as HR import, in this case, very much manually. It also means, therefore, that you can't update, in this case, poor old Jane, via HR input. So you can't use it to update her details or to assign her a job assignment unless this is ticked. Now, if you've got a big pile of users that haven't been had this selected because they've been created in a slightly a different way, or have just collected organically because it's been a system that you've been using for a long time, that would be a really manual process to go through and add a tick to all of these accounts. I'm so sorry if anyone's had to do that. I know in the past I've had to do it. However, there is a shortcut. Sitting here under users, I do want to leave page, and under bulk user actions, and this is maybe how you originally created the users. This is functionality that we inherited with Moodle, but we've adapted a little bit. And what you can do is select one or all or a selected number of users. And with this drop down here, you can toggle that tick box with toggle HR import. So you can basically in bulk tick that box, and therefore you can then update and users and link them with job assignments, etc. via the HR input tool. Now, one little gotcha on this. In order for that to work, the individual must have an ID number. And you'll need that anyway for any updates that you do around HR input. It simply won't work. So by ID number, I won't pick on Jane today. I'll pick on example learner. In the profile area here, kind of confusingly under optional, there's a little field here called ID number. And this number is used to connect managers to staff and staff to job assignments and to positions in organizations. So this is key for all users that you create. Now, you can also update this in bulk via that bulk update. And the easiest way of doing that, if I go back to that page, is actually downloading all of those accounts that need updating, because it comes in a CSV format that you can then just add in that ID field to and then re-import. So then you can upload users again through this functionality over here. And then you can use that toggle, or you can actually do it while you do an upload. But that's functionality that may be very helpful to you to update HR input options in bulk. Any questions before I move on to the last item, which is, as I promised, very, very quick?
Just one question from Angela. Can you add courses to multiple programs?
Yes, you can. So a course can belong to any number of programs.
And Daniel was just saying you can also use the upload users to add users to a set audience.
Yes, to add to audience. There we go.
I was saying, is this program course credit tracking the best way to record credit hours in a program?
Yeah. And the only reason I say it like that is I think it's possibly the only way. Yeah. The other option would be is if you again use the custom course field to give it like a time value or a rating at the course level, and then for you to calculate it up manually via the record of learning or the learning plan. So this probably feels like the best way if it's within a program. But if the courses don't naturally sit within a program, it can certainly be done individually at the course level.
I'm saying that's great to know. Can you have two course credit areas, e.g. hours and grades?
Yeah, well, you can create any number of custom fields, but only one can be selected within that program editing area as the value that is used to collect points or to tally points.
Okay. Tim is asking, he says we have HR import, but also bulk upload manual accounts. If we have HR import box, if the HR import box is ticked, will this affect HR import?
No, it won't. No, I mean, it's only just going to give you options down the line to update those manually created users via HR input if you so wish.
Tim says thanks.
Well, alrighty, and I did honestly promise, and it's like me. This one you may or may not know about already, but it is a common question, and it's the allow extended characters and usernames. So if I head over to security and then security settings, which is the default page, halfway down there's this little tick box here. And by ticking this, it means that you can allow symbols like the ampersand and full stops and hyphens and underscores to be part of a username, which means you can use an address, an email address as a username. Most people can remember their email address, but not that many people can always remember their username. I'm very much guilty of this myself, so not throwing stones here. But this little tick will mean that you can have your email address as your username, which is very helpful for some folks. As I promised, very, very quick. Any questions on that? Or anything else that you've seen today?
So Pam's just saying, when you get a moment, is it possible to explain what the content marketplace is and how it works?
Sure. We'll go through the rest of the, if there's any other questions, and then I can do that for sure.
Bob's saying demo at all? Question mark.
Can you repeat that, sorry, Matt?
I've just got demo a tour, question mark.
Demo a tour.
Setting up a tour.
Oh.
Yeah, user tour.
Yeah, that's going to take a little bit longer than we have time for today. Maybe we could do a separate session on that. In fact, Jordan might be a better person to do that because he's done some really interesting ones.
Yeah, user tours are really useful. You can see them in the community. If you go in and you log in, even if it's not your first time, if you go to the bottom of the community and click reset your user tour, you can see it there. And actually on that page, at the end of the user tour, it will tell you, it will link you to the help notes that say how to set up your own user tour. So if you follow that through, it will do that for you.
Am I close? Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So that's one way to do that. Another question from Scott. Have you used the course archiver plugin from Moodle?
No, I mean, we forked from Moodle about 3 versions ago and about 6 or 7 versions ago from Moodle. So we don't merge any Moodle code other than the occasional security fix that applies. So there are no Moodle contrib plugins that we have on Totara. You can always try them on Totara, but remember that not all contrib plugins are created equally. Always install on a separate server to test for security before you add it to anything. And it is more than likely, given that we forked many years ago now, that you will need some development intervention for it to work or be compatible with Totara.
Okay, great. Don't have any more questions at the moment.
Okay.
Just to say for Bob and anyone else again, just what Meredith showed on the user tours, on your own community homepages, if you go to the bottom, is what Meredith did, and you click on reset user tour on this page, that's where you can see the instructions. So yeah, you just need to log into your own space to be able to do that. Yeah. Okay. Hang on, I've got some more questions. Sorry. So Ahmed saying using extended characters for username can be used as an alternative. I mean, if you created a username with the email format, can we use a login only using the prefix before the @ symbol?
No, it's the full, whatever is entered, the full amount. Yeah,
you need a whole, you need the whole account.
Yeah, whatever is entered in the username field, you'd have to replicate exactly. But you could go, like, for example, meredith.henson@totaralearning.com is my email address. And I could certainly set my username as meredith.henson, and that dot is one of the extended characters. So entirely up to you.
Okay, thanks. Mag is asking, is there a possibility to sync groups across courses?
Kind of. I mean, you can do a backup and restore and include users and groups within that, which could be one way of doing it. Yeah, that might work. That might work for your particular use case.
Scott's asking, sorry, another question. Is it possible to unenroll users from a dynamic audience that were enrolled a long time ago to a program?
Yes, I mean, not manually exactly, but when you create a dynamic audience, then you have this option at the top here, these two options here that I've highlighted. So you can unenroll or disassociate individuals from an audience once they no longer meet their criteria, but it's not date-based unless you add a rule set, which is maybe I don't know, since a period of time since they last logged in or first logged in, and then you can kind of hack the system with a rule set if it's based on time.
Okay, another question. Has the course completion editor been enhanced in version 12?
It sure has, yeah.
Okay, quick one.
Have a look at the help docs. There's some good instructions on it, but in version 12 there was some nice what's this, of course, here I can give you a quick preview. Oops, that's not the right one. Completion editor, so you can edit individuals course completions pretty quickly. There's a lot of information here. You can see the various the history of their completion, what they have and haven't completed at a course level, as well as an activity breakdown, and you can individually edit items based on RPL, or you can just change it, or you can give them a pass grade and then override it as you like. Oh, I didn't give it a date. There we go. Yesterday.
Can you bulk unenroll learners in a course or program?
Well, you could do that via either a set or a dynamic audience, or you can update them through the upload users or the bulk user actions as well. I think you can unenroll, or you can at least do an uproll and give them no access to a course through the bulk user actions. Yeah, the bulk way would be probably via audiences if you're talking a lot of people.
A question from Jill from before was, we're talking about audiences.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that any learning assigned to them is removed as well? I think that's from the audience question before.
Oh, when we're talking about dropping people out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you no longer meet the criteria for belonging to an audience, then you can optionally kick people out. So, or yeah, it's an option. So you can choose whether they get removed from the audience or whether they stay. It just depends on the type of audience as to which option you'll choose.
Okay, we're coming to the end of questions. Just one from Pam from before about the content marketplace.
Okay.
And then also Tim is asking about missed the authentication bit. If it's possible to quickly recap that bit.
I kind of very quickly, because I'm aware that someone's very patiently waiting me to do the content marketplace. So in the authentication, you can change the login instructions on the front page through this authentication area, about halfway down. It's called instructions. The complicated bit is if you want to embed media. If you want to embed media, you need to save it somewhere else on the site and save the file location of that image. And the easiest way of doing that is adding a main menu block to the front page and adding a file or a label, and then copying that image location and then adding that in as the image, so that when you log in, you'll see that image displayed because it sits at the site level and isn't behind any other kind of authentication or permissions. But if that's not quite, so if that's way too fast, I would suggest.
No, Tim's on it. He says, "You got it. Thank you very much."
Oh, smashed it, Tim.
So that's it. If anyone else has any more questions, feel free to ask them now. But that's the end of questions that have come in so far. So just Pam asking about
Okay.
what you've seen content marketplace.
Okay, I'm your private demoer right now, Pam.
Well,
So,
still 34 people here, so.
well, I can watch. They might be interested. So there's limits to what I can do in terms of the demo because I don't have a current account with Go1, but I can describe everything. So the way that the content marketplace works is that we could, in theory, and we will have more than one content marketplace available as standard within Totara. At the moment, it ships with Go1, but in theory, there could be additional content marketplaces. It's open source and a module within Totara that you can leverage and pull in from other content repositories as you so like. So once you've enabled one of these content marketplaces, in this case just Go1, you need to create an account with the Go1 providers. That's what I don't have. Mine's expired. I need to set it up again, and you guys don't need to see that. But basically, you need to create an account. This connects to Go1. You can see that within the URL here. And it wants me to log in or create a new account. Depending on whether you've really spoken with Go1, maybe you'll be given a demo account to use, or whether you need to create a subscription and an account with Go1. The pricing, I believe, is very reasonable. That's separate to Totara. You can talk with your partner or Go1 directly about that. And there's various different accounts that you can create and have access to different amounts of content. So not dissimilar from Amazon and Amazon Prime, I suppose, or some other subscription service that's paid. Once you have an account and you're logged in and this is enabled, when you go to the course catalog, you'll have this Explore Content Marketplace button appear. And what that will do, I'm going to click it, it's not going to actually go anywhere. It's not going to load the content, but it will take you to this integration. Yeah, so it's telling me off for not having a login. And what this page will display along the left here is a search and a range of filters for finding content within the Go1 content marketplace. And you can go to the Totara help pages. There's lots of screenshots about how this would work. I know I wrote it myself. And you can search for content from different suppliers that are in different languages on different subjects. There's hundreds and thousands of courses within the Go1 content marketplace. When you do a search and you filter it, all of the items are displayed in tiles and previews, like what you see within the Totara course catalogue. You select which courses you want to import. It could be one, it could be many. And then you can, once you click import, then you will automatically be able to import that. There's like a little wizard to go through and create those courses directly into Totara. So you can, each of the courses in the Go1 content marketplace are SCORM activities. So you can put them all in one course, or you can create a new course for every SCORM activity that you select. And like I say, there's a wizard to talk you through that, creating a course or 3 courses or 4 courses. And then it's just then like any other course that has a SCORM activity in it. That content can be, actually I might have one that I've used before. That's an import proofreading. Maybe not. I would have to be clicking around here for a while to find what I'm after, so maybe it's not such a great idea. There we go. This might be it. So this, this is it. So this is an example of a SCORM object that's been pulled in from a Go1 course. And if I go to launch that, you'll see that there's a lot of information. And if I go enter, if you watch down the bottom left of the screen, there's like an authentication. Oh, it's popped up in the window here, which is actually going to connect to the Go1 player to say, do I have access to this particular item? So I didn't, it's not letting me view this because I don't have an account at the moment. And then you can view that content. So basically it does a permissions check to make sure that you've got a valid subscription. But in all other ways, the content imported from Go1 or any other content marketplace that you integrate would behave in any other way that your own personal SCORM content would work. So you can move it around within a particular course or between courses. If you turn editing on, then you can edit the settings around how it displays. You can set access restrictions and completion requirements as you need as well. So you can do everything you can with any other type of content. And that's it. If you do want to see kind of a more end-to-end process, I do suggest hitting up the help documentation. Like as I say, there's lots of screenshots in there to show you what you didn't have to use quite so much imagination as you did with my example just then.
And also we can get, so I might ask someone from Go On maybe to follow up with Pam as well. Maybe they can do more.
Perfect.
Okay, so yeah, that's it. That's all the questions from today, really.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you everyone for joining. We'll be trimming and uploading this recording up to the community in the next couple of days, so you can go through any items that I went through too quickly or you might have missed, and share with your colleagues if you think that was valuable. Otherwise, thank you so much. Stay well, stay happy, and hopefully see you at the next webinar that we look to offer.
So,
thank you everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, bye.